Guys, welcome back to this 10-minute golf mobility routine. Today is basically my favorite hip opener. We're not going to need any equipment, no tools needed for today. We're basically going to take our hips through some deep extension into some deep flexion and start to open up all of the rotation, kind of movement and all the flexibility that we should have in these key rotational areas in the golf swing. So no equipment, just going to need a mat. We're probably going to do around 5 minutes on each side, so probably about 10 minutes in total. Open up the hips, working on some rotation of the torso, rotation on the hips, and hopefully when you walk away from the session, you're going to feel incredible. So we're going to start on the mat, and all we're going to do is I'm going to start on my left side, so I recommend you also start on the left side just to make the instructions a little bit easier for you. So we're going to keep the right knee where it is. We're going to put the hands forward and bring this left leg all the way forward. Now, whatever position you've ended up in as you come to this position here, chances are you're going to need to go a little bit further. So most of the time when I see this, people don't go to the range that I need them to go to immediately. So just feel like you can wiggle this front foot forward a little bit further, and then feel like you can just move this back leg a little bit further back as well. So then we're into quite a deep, opened hip position. So a few things going on here. One, we've taken our right hip into some deep extension. So knee is really far behind the hip. And what we can also do from there is we can give this right glute a squeeze, and we can start to feel some work being done on the front of this right hip. What's also happening on this left side is we've now taken this left knee up into a really high position, bring this knee up towards the shoulder, which is a position it doesn't often get exposed to. So first thing we're going to do is put both hands down on the ground, and all we're going to do is start to noodle around in this position a little bit. So all I'm doing, if I show you from the front, is we're just moving a little bit further forward, a little bit further back, noodling around in this position, okay? So back foot back, front foot forward, noodling around. Now what we're going to feel is we're going to feel high up into this left glute, some good work starting to happen high here. Hamstring up into the glute is going to be working super hard, and front of the right hip is also going to be working hard here. So a few things to note. One, we're not going to stop moving the whole time. We're shimming around, we're moving around. We can start to touch into end range positions, feel like we're moving forwards, feel like we're moving backwards, tilting from side to side. So two things we're going to do. One, we're not going to stop moving, and the second thing, we're not going to stop breathing. It's really easy to start holding our breath when we get into these end ranges. Problem is with that is we're just going to keep the restriction, we're going to keep the tension. So I need you to keep taking full inhale, deep breaths, and full exhales as well. Keep moving around, keep shimming around, touch into all these end ranges, see what it feels like to drop to the left, drop to the right, move forward, move back, keep moving around. And then we're going to move into our first variation. So what we're going to do is just going to tuck this right knee across a little bit. So bring the right knee across a tiny bit. Bring the right hand a little bit closer to the left foot. And then what we can do is we can take this left hand and we can start to hug this left leg to rotate the torso. So as I do this now, and as I start to move in this position, I can move this a little bit higher into this right glute. And now I can also get a little bit of torso turn as well as I go. So we're still going to stick with our two rules. We're going to keep moving the whole time, and we're going to keep breathing the whole time. But now we've just added this extra rotational element to this movement. A few things we can also do from here. We can tuck this back leg under and lift this leg if we want. That is also an option. Or we can rest this leg down and start to really work deep into the rotation on this left hip. So we're shimming around, loads of good stuff happening here. We're taking muscles to end range. We're working on kind of some glute capsule mobilization at the top here as well. And also we're working on just some simple end range work where we're just trying to shimmy and touch into all of these end positions. Get some free work done on this ankle as well as we shimmy around. And then we're going to move into our second position. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the chest the other way. We're going to walk the hands around the other way this time. And now we're going to start to rotate round to the right. So for my left leg this way, I've turned, rotated, and now I feel like I'm trying to pull my chest and my chin round to the right. I can put my left hand on the inside of my left knee, and I can start to work this around as well. And again, we're sticking to our two rules. We're going to keep moving the whole time, and we're going to keep breathing the whole time. We're not going to let those two things go. So I'm still moving, still breathing, shimmying around, noodling this hip forward and back, trying to get as much motion into this as I can. If I want, I can also take this left hand off and start to work on a little bit of extra rotation here as well. So I can really start to open this thing up and close it off on this side. Start to get a little bit of a sweat on now as well. He's really starting to realize how active we can be in this stretch. And then just to finish off, we can come back into the center, tuck the leg under, lift up, and just really work some deep motion into the front of this left hip. Cool, another 10 seconds here. Just got my hand on the inside of this foot. And we'll take a rest. Cool, well done. So we're gonna go to the other side. Release off the other side, just a quick hip opener here. You're gonna take right foot up, left leg works back, nice and deep in this section. And immediately what you'll feel here is you'll be like, oh my God, this feels a little bit tighter than it did on the other side. And suddenly you realize that just spending a couple of minutes here can really start to free up all of this motion. So if you're someone that sits down on the desk all day, spend a lot of time sat on the sofa, maybe you've got a long commute to work, spend a lot of time in a seated position, then opening up this left hip and bringing this right knee up really starts to expose you to the positions that you don't get into often throughout the day, okay? So this is a slightly longer variation of this. This can be sped up. We can spend just a couple of minutes each side. But ideally, we're just trying to spend enough time here, moving around, keep wiggling, keep wiggling, keep wiggling, but enough time to really get this change going. Remember, we can tuck the foot under, we can lift the knee up if we want, for a little bit more of a advanced variation. But whatever feels comfortable for you to start getting some movement high up into this right hip and into the front of the left hip. So let's move into our first variation. So now we're going to turn and face this right leg. We're going to bring this left knee over slightly, and we're going to turn and hug this right side. Still moving forwards and back, still wiggling, noodling around, working this knee. Trying to keep this front foot pinned the whole time as well. So if you want to place your hand on your foot just to make sure that stays pinned, you can. If not, you can place the hand high and start to work around. Well done, guys, you're doing great. Stick with me. Keep breathing, keep moving. Working in all of these end range positions. And let's turn and face the left now. Let's turn away from this right side. So now we're turning my chest round and away from this right knee. Moving around, still moving, still breathing. Touching into this end range. You guys are doing great. Just bear with me for a little bit longer. And then we can take the right hand off. We can start to get a little bit of rotation if we want. We can start to reach up and rotate round. As I do this, I feel this a little bit more into the front of the left hip as I turn here. Try to turn the chest. Still moving, still breathing. Couple more. And then we can come back to the center and just do a final bit onto this hip. Working up, moving around into this normal position. Give me another 10 seconds here. And take a rest there. Slowly just mount, come back into the start position. And just like that, we've opened up both hips really effectively. Some good extension into one side while working some deep flexion, hip mobilization into the other side. Then when we flip, return the same. If you spend a lot of time sat down, a lot of time driving, really want to free up your rotation, move better in golf, this will work out for you. Well done, guys. See you tomorrow.